and thanks everybody for joining this afternoon. Going to be very direct and forward-looking today in today's presentation. I think today is the 365 days since the WHO announced it was a global pandemic or something like that. So I think we've all just had, I'm not going to focus this presentation much on the pandemic. Of course, it's hard to ignore it in terms of the future that's ahead of us, but I want this to be a forward-looking conversation because we are at the light of the end of the tunnel. And today's presentation is going to be about how to actually leverage an association mobile app in the future in 2021, and how this communication channel, mobile, that so broadly dominates our society today, has historically been an underutilized and undervalued communication channel for associations, and why that might be, and why that's changing, and how that's changing, and how it has rapidly shifted from a nice to have for your members to a need to have for your members in today's world, where your members are becoming more and more digital, especially those millennials who now make up over half of the workforce. Those are the mobile first folks. Those are the people that are operating their lives off of their smartphone. And those are that's the contingent that if you're an association, you're thinking about your next decade, your next 2 decades, that's going to make up the bulk of your membership. So let's jump in. So what we have discovered, and we knew this before 2020, but what we've really discovered is that technology is the intersection between your association's value proposition and your member. Where it used to be maybe your magazine, a lot of cases is your annual conference, and a lot of cases that will still persist, of course, but really technology has become the lead. It's the most frequently used touch point between you, your association, and your members. So when we ask the question, or just pose it, how did your organization re-strategize and adapt in 2020 amid the myriad of challenges? What we're really asking is, did you have the right technology in place to handle member needs? And like I said, looking forward, do you have the right technology in place, or do you plan to have the right technology in place to meet your the changed needs and desires of your members when it comes to engagement and communication? Of course, we're going to talk about it through the lens of an association app today, but I want to pause and just clarify what I mean by an association app, because if you've been in the association world and you hear the word mobile app, likely your first instinct is going to jump to event app, the app that I've logged in to go to the ASAE annual conference each year, or the conference that I host, and we run an event app with the agenda. That is, of course, a part of an association app, but association app is a much broader concept. It's a fully comprehensive mobile strategy, where it really serves as a one-stop shop for your members to access your organization. It's not siloed for one specific purpose. It's really supposed to be an all-encompassing product and solution. And those with apps that we saw in our client base in 2020 were well prepared to handle the shift to digital that happened very, very rapidly. And those that invested in the future will be well prepared to handle the shift that will persist to a more digital world. The golden question, if I can get my slides to work, is why mobile? Well, the fact of the matter is that mobile is not coming. Mobile is here. Mobile's been around for nearly a decade, and a majority of corporate America has embraced some type of mobile presence. So if you think about any brand or organization that you engage with, that you're familiar with, that you rely on, chances are that in the last decade, they've rolled out a mobile app. And the reason for that is because it's just darn convenient and it works. So from anything from online banking to streaming Netflix to communicating on WhatsApp, even to dating. We just saw Bumble, the dating app, IPO'd a couple of weeks ago with much success. Uber Eats, shopping on the Target app, calling an Uber, buying your tickets on the Southwest app. And my personal favorite, and I think the one that's most relevant to associations, is consuming content and consuming the news, getting push notifications from CNN, from Wall Street Journal, from CNBC, right? All of those organizations are accessing their clients through mobile. And mobile, the reason that is because it's, again, so darn convenient. Where is your phone right now? I would ask. Mine's within arm's length. It rarely isn't within arm's length. Um, I've probably checked my phone 150 times already today and used about 25 different apps. The point is, this is where people are spending their time, and therefore this is the battlefield on which your organization is going to have to compete for your members' attention going forward. What is it about mobile that attracts consumers? Well, first of all, if you remember one thing from this presentation, please let it be that the most valuable component of a mobile strategy, of an association app, is the ability to send out push notifications. In a world where our inboxes are absolutely flooded with important things, all the way down to the mattress company that I bought a mattress from 5 years ago trying to get me to buy another one, our emails inboxes are just a cesspool, right? Push notifications are the cure for that, in terms of allowing you to have much more control over the content that's coming across your phone screen. It's instantaneous. It doesn't sit again and get bogged down in the noise. Of course, the most obvious attraction to mobile is the fact that it's on the go, right? You're not bound to a computer. Even when the data shows, and we'll get to in a second, even when consumers were bound within their homes during the pandemic, mobile continued to outpace desktop in terms of usage, which was surprising. A lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. You don't notice it, but personalization is huge on a mobile phone because there's that added layer of security on top of your phone, essentially your passcode or your Face ID. What that actually does is allow your apps to rely on that more, and therefore allow much more personalization, like saved logins, saved preferences, again, all contributing to the convenience and the intuitiveness of mobile. And then usage of the actual phone hardware, shared hardware between apps that your association app can leverage because it's developed on a mobile platform. So instead of, just to put it in a relevant example, instead of asking your member to go sit down at their computer, log in with their email and passcode, wouldn't it be cool if they could just open your app, log in with their Face ID like they do for almost every other app? That's the type of experience that consumers are getting and expect from organizations, and your members are those same consumers. And so that's the type of experience that an association app can provide. I mentioned email, and I want to go in a little bit and clarify, what our sort of philosophy on email. Of course, we know that inboxes are inundated. That's no surprise to anybody. If you're like 99% of the associations that I have conversation with, you're seeing your email open rates decline over time. You're not alone. It's just too crowded, right? Open rates are low and it's slow. You think about things like Slack, think about things like WhatsApp. That level of instantaneous messaging has become the expectations, and it even highlights further how slow email is. So again, this is not to say that an association app is going to replace email. It's not going to take away your need to use email to communicate to your members. But it is a very, very refreshing change of pace for clients using an association app to have another tool in their toolbox when it comes to communicating with somebody other than sending another email. And that's by far and away what we hear the most is, wow, it's, in the past, we would have just had to send them another email. Now we can send them a push notification. I want to think about what makes the best apps. And from our philosophy, the best apps combine utility and entertainment under the same roof. And that's something that your association is well positioned to do. We often turn to Facebook to paint a picture of sort of the broader mobile landscape, but also make some compelling parallels between the Facebook app and your association that you might not have realized before, and how that could be sort of a recipe and a blueprint for success. What's in the Facebook app? Well, it houses news, entertainment. Everybody watches the occasional puppy video or cat video. Communication, keeping up with high school colleagues, keeping up with your family. Events, of course, everybody knows you can sign up for an event or say that you're going to an event on Facebook. Advertising, we know that's how they make all their money. It's also probably caught us every now and then, buying something we don't need on through a Facebook ad. Job listings, fundraising. Now look at those things and ask yourself, how many of those things does my association do? I would say that most organizations I talk to would use at least 75% of those things that are listed there. So when I posed the question to organizations, I say, what would it be like if your association could be the Facebook for your industry? And how would that be? Would you like that? And they say, of course, we absolutely would. And you can with with the right platform, and that platform is an association app to drive community and drive engagement. Facebook also helps us dispel a couple of common myths and objections that my members are older and therefore they won't use an app. Facebook shows us that 65 years and older is the fastest growing contingent on their platform. And even more so compelling for the mobile case, 78% of users during the month of April, like I mentioned in the pandemic, when everybody thought everybody was going to be at home on their laptops, 78% of Facebook users worldwide solely accessed Facebook via their phone. That's really compelling to show you how people are accessing news and content. I can certainly look inwardly and reflect and say, for better or worse, I spent way more time on my phone when I was cooped up, and still am to a certain degree. The last thing I want you guys to think about when it comes to Facebook, because some of you guys may see, well, I don't really get it. I still don't understand how Facebook has to do with my organization. And I want to think about it from a revenue driving standpoint and ask yourself, where does Facebook derive all of its value? Why is Facebook the multi-billion-dollar corporation? They derive all of their value from being able to target content, target a message, and target advertising to a specific subset of individuals. That's it. That's how they derive their value. It's how they drive their revenue. 94% of Facebook's revenue comes from their mobile ads. So when I think about that, think about your association. In essence, you are that targeted audience. You have that targeted audience at your fingers, and therefore you have a lot of the ability to derive and extract that type of value from a revenue standpoint. And you can look at Facebook for the model of how to turn an investment in an association app into actually a revenue driving tool. And we'll get into that a little bit more later on. I mentioned earlier that when you first mention a mobile app to somebody in an association community, they say, oh yeah, we have an event app. And that's absolutely right. That was certainly marked the early adoption of event apps into the association world. And they've served and continue to serve really well. Event apps are fantastic at doing what they're designed to do, which is help support an event. But the problem with them is that 99% of event apps are deleted within a couple days of the event. So all that planning, all that promotion, all the resources that you put into propping up that app, they work fantastic for 3 days. And so you have short-lived results. And when you look at that over time, that certainly doesn't spell a good picture for ROI amortized throughout the year. So in addition to just the ROI conversation, all the engagement that happens during the event, on the event, the sponsor engagement, attendee conversations in the app, that all dies as well. And so what an association app and that sort of shift in mindset allows you to use the app year round, allows the flames not to die of engagement from the event. And it also provides a platform from which to launch other engagement initiatives that tie in and support that event, for example. So when you combine content, collaboration, and events all under the same roof, it starts to become a multiplier effect, both from an engagement standpoint as well as from just a return on your investment standpoint. So what are some of the specific things? I mentioned content, collaboration, events, how they build and how they tie into each other. But that's the what. Now, what about the how? Like, how do they do that? Well, first of all, probably the central component of your association app will be your organization's newsfeed. And again, this is the most Facebook-esque, LinkedIn-esque component of the newsfeed, and it should be. It should sort of feel like that. That's a proven engagement design in the for-profit world. You should pay attention to that and borrow those proven concepts and designs, like a newsfeed. So this is really that cornerstone of the organization to member engagement and communication channel. This gets a lot of use from our clients, more than any other feature. In addition to news feeds, you want to drive member to member engagement and conversation. So we do have your association app should have a forum or some way to drive those type of community discussions. Push notifications, I come back to it again, but each one of these features can be tied back to push notifications. You might send out a push notification when you publish your new industry white paper in the newsfeed. You might get a push notification when somebody tags you and asks for your opinion on a current event in the forum. In addition, of course, member directory. This is a very, I see some variance in how valuable this is for organizations, but for many of them, it is the sole reason why members join is to have access to other members. And so the member directory is incredibly important. For many of the trade associations, you might pull in a member directory of people that are on the app, but you might also pull in an organization directory or a company directory, of course, since your members will be organizations. Messaging. So I mentioned the instantaneous element of WhatsApp, of Slack. Well, that can also be a reality in your association app. Full messaging platform built in for direct messaging, for group messaging. This is, by the way, a great replacement or a great supplement to virtual events, right? When before you'd meet up with your colleagues over a drink at the hotel bar or hotel lobby. Can't really do that anymore, of course. So the messaging and the forums provide a great supplement to still allow some of that networking and human-to-human engagement that's typically the first casualty in a canceled in-person event. Polls and surveys. This one is sort of an undervalued piece in my mind. The ability to send out a poll to your members where it's not a painful web form that you have to do through your email. It's just push notification. Can you fill out this quick poll of where you want next year's annual conference to be? Do you want it to be in-person, hybrid, or virtual? That your members can vote really quickly. Resource Center, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a full compilation of folders and files that you want your members to have access to year-round and conveniently through their app. These folders can be private too, so not every single member has to have access to every single folder. And I think without fail, we saw each and every one of our clients here at Clouder prop up some type of COVID-19 response resources or guidance in a resource center in their app, and saw a lot of utilization of that, as you can imagine. Profile is also really important. If the whole sort of theme of mobile has been convenience so far, and this is no different with the association app and the feature of the member profile, right? You want to make it as easy as possible for your members, right, to renew their dues, for example. Let them do it with a few taps through their profile in the mobile app. Send them a push notification to remind them 30 days ahead of time. Hey, don't forget to renew your dues in 30 days. By the way, you can do it with 2 taps through your app. Profile management and just clean database. That's a big value add of having an association app that's integrated with your database, is that your members may be more likely and likely will be more likely to update their information from a convenient interface on their mobile app and have that clean up in your database. So again, it all comes down to convenience and making it easy for your members. And of course, while we don't preach and our philosophy is not that of a single-use event app, of course, any complete association mobile solution should have an event module and event features. So in an association app, you should essentially have an event app within your association app, but it should be a seamless experience that allows the functions and features to build off of one another within under the same roof. So for example, you'll have a full agenda, speakers, Q&A, session tracking, all the expected and utilized event functionality. But what's great is that you'll also might have a forum that's about, about the event, about a specific topic, about a specific theme from the event that your members can just under the same roof contribute to and participate in that engagement. And it does not, again, have to end at the conclusion of the event. Well, virtual events are a thing, and they're probably going to be a thing for a while, whether it's fully virtual, whether it's a hybrid. I spoke to a lot of groups that while virtual events there was a lot of uncertainty in and around virtual events, a lot of lost revenue in and around virtual events. One of the side benefits was that it opened up their association. It opened up access to the content and to many more members than typically are possible with an annual conference. And for that reason, lots of people are speculating that some version of a virtual event, whether it's fully virtual, whether it's hybrid, will persist in the future. So I want to talk quickly about how an association app can help support your virtual events. So this is just, we're going to do this in sort of a case study form with one of our clients, ASI. They're the developers of the IMIS mobile app. So they actually use the Collider platform as a technology user group for their clients and for their solution providers and consultants, sort of their whole ecosystem as well as their employees. So same concept, right? Driving engagement. They had the app and were able to pivot their virtual event to it in a mere 2 weeks, just because they had to in March 2020. And I already mentioned it, but things like forums, things like messaging, things like the already built out event app that's within it, the newsfeed, the push notifications, those all allowed them to supplement the event sessions in a way that was very engaging, and it didn't just feel like a long webinar like you might feel this is. But just taking a look at some of their results, they had only 400 attendees. They got over 60,000 news post impressions, 8,000 event views, tons and tons of advertising and sponsors. One of the really cool things that this organization did that since then many of our clients have also adopted is if you look in the screenshot there, you'll actually see it looks like a selfie, right? People were allowing attendees to post pictures of themselves, post comments on the news feed of the app. Pretty engaging stuff, especially what I thought was unique is they actually allowed sponsors to do that. And hey, I have 30 seconds on our news feed. I'm sorry that you can't be here in person with us to interface with our clients, but how about 30 seconds on a news feed just to pitch who you are, what you do, how you're supporting the community. First of all, that was really effective. Second of all, from a sponsor standpoint, that's really, really valuable. If you were to offer somebody, we all love trade shows, we all love going to events, we all have a love-hate relationship with sitting in a booth, but if you give an A-B choice to a sponsor saying, hey, A, would you like to sponsor the lanyard on our badges for this year's annual event? Or B, would you like to have some type of digital advertising inside the mobile app that you're going to be able to track, you're going to be able to track, you're going to be able to have the data on, you're going to be able to really see proof of value? That's an easy decision for a lot of sponsors. And so lots of organizations can leverage that association app again to be a revenue driver for their organization. In a lot of cases, it's helping recover some of the lost revenue from the in-person events. Might have gotten ahead of myself here because there is a slide about in-app sponsorship and advertising, believe it or not. Want to go through a couple specifics on what that looks like and how that might work. So if you're familiar with Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Twitter platforms, then you've certainly seen sponsored content. That is proliferated in the last decade primarily because of how effective it is on social platforms, the idea of sponsored content. Well, because in a lot of ways, your association app will emulate your own private social network, your own private Facebook. Sponsored content can have a really good place there as well. So your newsfeed should support that. I mentioned polls. You can also sponsor those polls. Imagine how valuable it would be to one of your partners, one of your sponsors, to drop a poll in your association app newsfeed and leverage your membership as a focus group. Of course, like I said, I'm going to come back to push notification time and time again, but highlighting, there's no better way to highlight attention to something very briefly, very quickly, and very effectively than with a push notification. In terms of sponsored forums and sponsored resources, what you're really doing here is you're really allowing highly contextual advertising, highly targeted and relevant advertising. So you might have if you're an auto dealer trade association, you might have a Ford advertisement right next to your forum on best service methods, right? So very highly contextual, highly relevant advertising. Same thing with resources. And then last but not least, the most powerful part of it all is your traditional banner and display ads. So Instagram-esque, LinkedIn-esque type of ads that will show up in your newsfeed in other places throughout the app that allow your members, that allow your sponsors to get leverage valuable real estate and get in front of your members. And then one thing that I want to talk about that's been a growing trend among our clientele is actually having the entirety of the app sponsored, essentially having a title sponsor for the app, and then putting that on the splash screen. You could sort of view this as the premium designation, premium sponsor spot. It does not preclude you from using the other advertising methods that I just went through, but this is sort of the top spot, if you will. And lots of organizations are getting one title sponsor to do their whole app. One more feature, and this is sort of a wide-ranging feature, but in addition to sort of the core modules that come along with an association app for engagement communication, you guys also have a ton of valuable stuff already on your website, right? This is not meant to replace your website. This is meant to be an enhancement to your organization, an enhancement to your website, an enhancement in addition to your communication channels. So what do you do with all of the valuable stuff that's already there on your website, like your job board, for example, or a video library, right? Well, your association app can also house those things through what is called custom navigation links or custom web views. These are actually renderings of your organization's website, but they're given prime real estate inside of the app to help drive traffic to them. Again, it's all about convenience and meeting your members where they are. So you want to bring your most valuable resources to your membership's fingertips on their mobile app. Just a couple of examples here. If you're on the ASAE app, you see they pull in their Higher Logic Collaborate communities via custom navigation link. Sidebar, if you are a Higher Logic client, we're currently working on expanding the compatibility of Higher Logic and Cloudr so that it's a seamless interface between mobile and that, so that your Higher Logic communities can be an important part of your association mobile app. Things like job boards, video libraries are great fits for this. I love it when associations do podcasts. I mean, it's, podcasts there's podcasts for everything now. There's certainly a rapidly growing digital channel. But, where do we listen to our podcasts? We listen to it from our phone 99.9% of the time. And so it's a natural thing to do to pull your association's podcast into your association mobile app. So moving forward in 2021, I just want to sort of reiterate some things that I believe are important to think about as we all innovate and look forward to the next year, but also the next 5 years and the next 10 years. Millennials are over 50% of the global population, global workforce. Now, a lot of people, when you hear millennials, you still think about the 25-year-old or 26-year-old that's just a couple years out of college, still floundering around trying to figure out what their life is going to look like. And this might shock a couple people, it shocks me, the oldest millennial is now 41. All right, these folks that operate their lives from a smartphone are also entering or in the prime of their careers. While they make up 50% of the workforce, they only make up about 20% of association members, broadly speaking, at this time. So when I look at that disparity, I think, well, where's an association going to grow? Where's their success? Where are their key, pivotal, influential members going to come from in the next, again, 5, 10, even 20 years? It's going to come from that millennial cohort. And to engage and compete for that millennial cohort's attention, you have to have a mobile first mentality. The other thing I would say is, in a time where everybody is reevaluating their relationship with just about every brand, just about every organization, that even their work life, even their commute, right? We've all reevaluated our relationship with work. Associations also realize that your members are reevaluating their relationship with you and the value and the mutual benefit, right? This is a time to put your best foot forward in terms of providing member value, because doing so now will pay large dividends down the road when there comes another time when they reevaluate and they said, you know what, I've gotten constant value from my association for the last decade. And our philosophy is that an association app is a fantastic way to communicate that value, because again, you're cutting through all of the noise, delivering value directly to your members' smartphone in a time where digital mediums are the key. So I want to leave you with that and give you guys some resources that you can check out if you're interested in learning more. I said we weren't going to talk much about COVID, but if you want to see some case studies about how we were doing and how we're helping folks, we do have a page for that. Things that you'll really enjoy learning more about can be found on our resource library. Lots of other webinars, lots of client webinars. We just had the Texas Retired Teachers Association do a client webinar in about 30 minutes on their experience using the Clatter app for generally older demographic and how much success that they've had. That'll be on our resource library shortly. We also have a demo app that anybody is welcome to download through the App Store. It'll ask you to create an account, enter your username and password, and then we'll be notified and approve you. This is a great way to understand what I'm talking about, which doesn't require you to have a conversation with a salesperson. We do have a mobile readiness assessment on our website if you want to check that out. It'll ask you your key priorities and initiatives for the next couple years and see how well that could match up to a mobile app. Many of you guys may also be members of ASAE. ASAE has an association app that would encourage you to download if you haven't heard about it yet. Just use your existing username and password and get an idea for what a branded Clatter app would look like. And of course, if you'd like to see an actual demonstration of the app, as well as talk about any integrations, see how you control it through the back end, we'd be happy to do that for you. You can find a demo link on our website, or you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly, billy@clatter.com. I appreciate everybody listening today. And Jackson, I want to turn it back over to you if you don't mind. I got some notifications about questions coming in, and I want to make sure we address those.
Thanks, Billy. Yeah, I got a couple questions coming in. Just as a reminder, please submit your questions using the Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen. And to receive that CAE credit, you must contact ASAE and present your confirmation email that you have received as an attendee of this webinar. So the first question we have is, do you see older members using the app? I'm worried an app might alienate them.
That's a great question. And we get that a lot. I'm glad I just mentioned the TRTA, the Texas Retired Teachers Association webinar that we had, client webinar that we had yesterday, because there's your case study for that, right? That's obviously a membership base that trends older, but it's very engaged and have shown to be very willing to take up technology and use it effectively. The other perspective for that is that while you may have older members, they are certainly getting younger every year, both literally, but also in how they engage and use and learn technology. What I would say about alienating your members, I think that's the conservative approach. This is sort of the conservative mindset. Well, a segment of my membership won't use the app, therefore we can't do it. Well, I don't think that's the right way to think about it. I think I want to think about it through the positive lens that a segment of your membership will use your mobile app, right? Not everybody goes to your annual conference, but you have that anyway. Not everybody participates in your online community as much as you'd like them to, but you have that anyway because a lot of your members do. And I think it's no different with an app, right? Sure, maybe some segment of your membership will continue to prefer accessing your website and accessing your email. What adopting an association mobile app is all about is addressing those members that would prefer, just like they prefer with everything else in their life, to engage with you through an app. So I wouldn't worry about alienating members. I think that's sort of the wrong mindset. Think more about the ones that will use it. I think you're still muted, Jackson.
My bad. Next question is, how successful has mobile sponsorship been for associations using your apps?
Yeah, good question. So I can only answer this, sort of high level because I don't really know the financial arrangements that our clients have with sponsors, and it's probably smart of them to keep that private from us. But I can say that of our clientele, I look at many of their apps weekly, monthly. They've always got sponsors in there, and a lot of times it's the same sponsor. We've had an organization with the same title sponsor for 4 years now. And so when I read between the lines there, I can see that that's clearly been a mutually beneficial relationship if they've continued to do it year over year.
All right, before we get to the last question, just want to do a last call for any remaining questions. All right, so our next question is, will an app replace our need for email?
Wouldn't that be nice? I certainly don't think it'll replace it. If you're familiar with the story of Slack, what we all, what many of us use in our day-to-day in an office, that's sort of their golden egg is to replace email. So again, the idea is that this is not going to realistically replace your association's email. Again, there will be some segments of your membership that will prefer to get your sit down in the morning and read your email newsletter at their desk. That's not changing tomorrow. But the idea here is that it's a refreshing change of pace to be able to supplement and sometimes replace a portion of your email by using push notifications.
All right, going once for any more questions? Twice? All right, looks like that's it for questions. Thank you for those who submitted questions, and thank you all for attending today. Be sure to look out for our future webinars, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it, Jackson.